be creating an all foraged hanging installation. And this can be something that you create over your table or just as kind of an art piece. I love doing hanging installations. I love it. It's so much fun. There's so much creative freedom in it. And today we're going to be using this chicken wire because I do try to create all of my floral pieces without any floral foam and in the most sustainable ways. So we've got chicken wire here and we have rigged it up to the ceiling. I'm not going to go through the process of that with you because it could be a little awkward. But I will show you how I twist the chicken wire, and then we just use zip ties and some chain to hang this from. And this will be our base that we put our foliage through. And I went out this morning. It was a beautiful spring-like morning in December, and I collected a whole bunch of branches and leaves and grasses and some different textures and colors to add in today. The other thing that I've realized I really enjoy doing for these videos and for all of you is instead of creating it beforehand, we're really just creating this together. I want it to be a very organic, spontaneous experience. So we'll be building this together and making edits and putting things in and taking things out as things look good and don't look good. So I think first I'm going to show you how to make the chicken wire sausage. It's real easy. So basically when I do this, I think about kind of the general shape that I'm wanting. If you want something a little tighter, then you're just going to roll it into a sausage like this. I've even put evergreen foliage in there, like some holly or even some smilax, because it does make it a little bit easier when you're making the cloud to poke your branches into, to have that little extra fluff in the middle that helps you. So yeah, you're just taking the chicken wire and you're creating whatever form you want. I've wired it shut so that you kind of have a cylinder. Some of the things that I'm hoping that we can use today, and we'll figure it out, like I said, as we are creating this together, but I picked some grass. This is a black pennisetum, and I actually really liked the foliage that went with it too, because it's got that kind of beautiful tan. This is dried canthus grass, and then some oak leaf hydrangea, which is really, really pretty, that deep burgundy. I picked some hemlock this morning because I love the little pine cones in it, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to be wanting to incorporate any greenery into this. This was a found object down the road, and I just thought it was too pretty. I might somehow try to include that. And then an assortment of different oak. I've got this oak, and then some of this really beautiful tan oak. Of course, a wintertime favorite in the woods of southeastern Ohio is beech. Got some beech. We'll probably be starting with this because it's got such a pretty structure. So we'll use that as our base. And then these were kind of interesting. These are a Japanese anemone, and I thought that these little seed pods, or like little puffs, were really pretty. So that might be fun. And then one of my favorites, which is Amsonia. It's just a really, really gorgeous texture that I thought might be nice to add in. It's always great with installations to have zip ties on hand. I use them all the time. Whoever invented the zip tie is my hero. So we're gonna start with this beech because it's just got a really pretty shape. And I'm gonna take off some of the lower stems there. And we might have to do a little wiring with these. So I'm thinking my shape is going to be kind of swooshed up here and then down this way a little bit, kind of going for that S curve. So let's put this up in here. These are so much fun. So much fun to build. I'm gonna take this and cut it again. And I always cut it at the node so that I can use that piece. It doesn't look weird being cut in the middle. So I'm kind of just starting out getting the shape that we want here. And sometimes you do have to cut out those lower branches just to get it into the chicken wire. Another thing you can do is weave the stem in. So I just kind of wove it in and out. So we're going to continue adding the beech. You can purchase coated floral wire, or you can use this regular silver chicken wire. And I really like the silver chicken wire for cloud installations like this because it kind of disappears a little bit. Some of these pieces are a little short, but they're great for filling in. The other thing is I like to have an assortment of things that I've picked just so that I have options. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to be using everything, but it's nice to have, you know, it's like a painter having different colors available to him in his palette. Also, if you're building this over a table, you're going to want to be thinking about the guests being able to see each other. So we have a nice little curve happening here, our little kind of S curve. And I think for now, we're going to be done with the beech. I might incorporate a little more in here in a little bit. Next, we're going to start with this really pretty oak. And I'm going to break this up a little smaller and kind of add some dimension to the cloud by putting this in the back. So they don't all have to be going in the same direction. I like it's nice to have this one's pointing in a little bit, this one's swooping down. It's a similar concept when you're building this as to when you're building a floral arrangement. We're starting with our base, and then at the end, I'm going to add in the real textural, whimsical stuff. It's really important, I think, to use what you have available in season. And there's so much when you walk. I mean, you look outside and you think it's winter, there's nothing. But when you really open your eyes, you can see that there is actually a lot available this time of year. And I do the same thing. I'm doing the same thing with this as I would do with a flower arrangement or a bouquet, and I'll sometimes hold it in a spot that I think it might look good before I commit to it. And this one seems a little bulky to me, so I'm going to cut out some of these little pieces. And I think now, I was going to use the oak leaf hydrangea. Let's look at it. I think it might be a little too bulky for this. What do you guys think? I don't know. It seems a little heavy for something so airy. I don't really want heavy clouds today. I want to make nice, light, fluffy clouds. So I think we're going to leave this beautiful oak leaf hydrangea out. Sorry, buddy. Okay, we're going to do this gorgeous Amsonia next. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this plant, but it's just got such a beautiful texture. And when the wind blows, when it's in the garden, it's just like this wave of texture. And it has this really dainty, pretty blue flower. And equally beautiful autumn foliage. So let's add some of that in. And this, I'm going to have it kind of poking out a little more. Again, just to add some dimension to the piece. What I'll do here in a minute is stand back and look at it and see what we think. So we're just going to keep kind of weaving this in just for some texture. I might do some in the back. I kind of like leaving the middle a little bit open because you don't want it to just look like a big blob. I'm going to maybe add one more piece here. And actually, just for fun, I'll add a couple pieces to the back. I just stepped back and took a look at what it looked like from a distance, and I'm pretty happy with it. But I think the purpose of this will be, because it has a lot of nice coverage, is I'm going to cut these a little bit shorter and cluster them and try to cover up some of our mechanics. So the mechanics being the chicken wire. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the clustering of these and maybe pulling some out a little bit lower. Oh, I love that. This is fun. So we're kind of using this grass like we would a focal flower. It's kind of our little focal by adding just little shots of it. This stuff is so invasive. I think I'm going to go high, a little higher on this right side. And what I'm going to do now is kind of stack it up, pull it down a little bit, so that I have kind of a longer. And what you can do, what might be easier, is you can wire these clusters together. Then it'll make it easier. It'll be like putting one flower in instead of a whole bunch of stems. So we'll see if this works this way. I'm gonna keep stepping back and taking a look at it. I'm liking it. I'm gonna add one more kind of cluster out on this side, and then we're gonna have to figure out what to do with this center section. I've been leaving it blank, but we are going to have to do something there. I love the lichen. I wish there was a way to incorporate this, but I think I'm gonna leave this out. But you could put this on your table and put some candles and some leaves around that. Actually, we have a couple things left. Sorry, we've got this and the Japanese anemone. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did with this. And again, let me just show you, I am actually gonna wire this. This is gonna make it a lot easier to insert it into the chicken wire. There are a lot of seeds on this. They love to go for a ride. And then I'm also using this kind of in the similar fashion as to what I did with the other grass, kind of like a little explosion. And this is nice with the wire. I'm actually gonna wire it to the chicken wire. Yeah, I like this. I like the curvature of that grass. It's really pretty, which is kind of fun. I just wanna make sure it's, again, not on the same plane as this one. We still have a little bit of a conundrum in the middle there, a little blank spot. I'll add another little cluster up here. Sometimes it's good to think in, you don't have to be married to the idea and design of threes, of odd numbers, but sometimes it is nice to think that way and kind of in a triangle, add, the same variety. We have some of this Japanese anemone, which I think is really pretty. And I think I'm gonna remove the leaves from these. You're gonna have to snip those off. And I kind of want these just to be a little burst, like a little airy burst coming out. They're gonna be really subtle. I'm gonna have them, this is my whimsical flower. Cluster them together. Oops. It is a little bit of a balancing act. I think we're almost done. So I'm just gonna trim out some small leaves, kind of tuck those in there. So I'm just filling in this space a little bit. I don't want to fill it in completely because then it just, again, loses some of the essence. Let's take a look. It's airy. Something like this is really dramatic and really fun and can add a burst of nature feeling of the outdoors into your home when you create something like this. I've got a whole bunch of this pampas grass, which I wasn't gonna add because I wanted this to be an all foraged, dramatic hanging cloud / hanging centerpiece. But I think I do have some of this in the shop, so I kind of wanted to show you the option of what it looks like with all foraged and what we can do with just a little bit of this different tone, this shot of white, fluffy white. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna add one more in here, doing kind of the same thing that I did with the other grass. And that is just kind of making it a focal. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, part of the fun of this is making it kind of wild. And something like this would be really great in your home. It would last for quite a while. So in looking at this, I see one spot that I'm not super excited about because I feel it takes away from the shape. So I'm just gonna edit it out. And I really like the way that kind of tightened up the shape. So this is our cloud. I did bring it down a little lower so that we could film it. So I wouldn't have it this high up from your table. I might, you know, keep it 2.5, probably 30 inches would be the lowest point. And then you can scatter leaves on the table and candles and just keep your table very simple because you've got this really stunning, dramatic piece over top. Thank you so much for joining us at Past the Florist Studio today here on the Bloom TV network. I was so excited to create this all foraged cloud for you that's really gorgeous and a little piece of nature brought inside. Thank you so much.